Hey, what's up? It's Mykill Metal, and this is episode 4 of Kerbal Space Program. In this episode, I'm going to be sending a bunch of Kethane Scanners all over the place, mostly to Laythe and Minmus. This one right here is going to Laythe. I also placed a science module and a couple of goo canisters on top of it in order to get some science from Joule while I'm doing my aero braking. I'm going to start a gravity turn right here. And I'm going to be sending this out to 625 kilometers instead of the normal 100 in order to get the proper time warp, so I can get a higher time warp than as if I was in a lower orbit. Which is kind of important because I don't exactly wait until the proper launch windows. I just launch and then I time warp until Kerbin is in the right spot for me to make my transfer. And I will be using MechJeb in this video. I do apologize for that, but most of it is not for the flying. I just need it to create some of the maneuver nodes and do the launch, so I don't do that flip, triple axle, whatever the hell it is. The problem here is that when I set up the maneuver node, it gets a encounter with the moon, which I really do not need. So what I want to do is set it up so it's facing the sun, so I can get constant power while I time warp. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to time warp slightly past the actual maneuver node, and I'm going to reset it so that it'll go back a couple hours later on the next orbit, and I'll miss the moon completely. And then I will fly that maneuver manually. Here we go, making the burn. It's a really, really, really slow burn. I probably should have used a nuclear engine, which would have probably made it slower, but in the long run, I think I would have needed it because I run into a few problems a little bit later in this video, which you'll see. Here we go. Try set up a maneuver node to get a little bit closer to Joule, but I figured, screw it. I'm not very good with maneuver nodes, so I'll have MechJeb do it. Set that up to get it closer, and then time warp over there. I wish there was a higher time warp. I wish we had like 500,000 times or 1,000,000 times or something, because this is super slow. This is at 100,000 times time warp, and this video is at 4 times accelerated speed with Sony Vegas. This is not good. It took me about 20 minutes to warp all the way out to Joule, which is kind of ridiculous. But I did end up making it there. Sort of. You'll see. I'm gonna make this burn real quick. And more time warp. I'm gonna put in some fucking Benny Hill music or some shit. This is weird. Getting a little closer, and still not there. 100,000 times time acceleration and 4 times video acceleration. That's how long it takes. It's still ridiculous. And we get in here, slow it down, and now we can make our correction to flatten out our orbit. And then we can change our periapsis to get around 71 to 75, somewhere in there, in order to get a proper aero capture. But the problem with that is I had to do this quite a few times because I had no idea where the window would be for me to get a good aero capture. So this is after practice run 2 or 3, using Smart ASS to hold me in the retrograde position. I had to fold away the solar panels in order for them not to get ripped off. Even though I don't have deadly reentry, I guess it's the air pressure or wind resistance or something that does still rip them off, which is kind of cool. But hopefully they will add reentry damage sooner or later, because that's always fun. I'm going to set up a maneuver node up at the apoapsis in order to raise the periapsis. Just out of the atmosphere, and then I'm going to target Laythe. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to do a little bit of science while I'm in orbit around Joule. I'm going to send that back to Kerbin, because this ship will not be returning. And now I'm going to activate... Actually, no, I wait for that. There we go. Target Laythe and set up a maneuver node to get an encounter. And get close enough to it to make the burn. And right here, I actually did use MechJeb to run the maneuver node for me because I didn't trust myself. And I also noticed that in the orbit info, I added the stage delta V. I also noticed that I don't have enough fuel to make this trip. I did not calculate this correctly. So we'll see what happens. You'll notice when it gets to the end of the burn, I only have 580 meters per second, somewhere around there. I don't know. The screen's a little small. And right here, you see me fidgeting around. I cannot seem to get my view to switch back to the Kethane probe. So what I ended up doing was quick saving and reloading, and it fixed it. So time warp in, and it turns out that my orbit was almost perfect. I actually came in underneath the South Pole, which was good. But my orbit is currently straight on with the sun, which means that I will be in darkness for a good portion of the day, which is not good. And we start this burn and then run out of fuel right there. So it's a pretty elliptical orbit, and I only get to scan half of the planet each time around. So time warping did not really do much good in this situation. It took me about 5 hours to scan the entire planet, which was kind of nuts. But I ended up did end up getting it done. So there's that. Hopefully in the future episodes I'll be able to send another craft up there to clean up that mess and ram that bitch straight into the ground where it belongs. But until then, we are going to launch our Minmus probe. This one was a little bit more difficult to control. I did not put as much SAS on it as I technically needed. But this one I wasn't going to make the same mistake twice, so I put way more than enough fuel. Start the gravity turn. Right after I drop those. and separate the fairings, which are awesome, by the way. And this is the first time this has ever happened to me. I actually had to flip around while on my way up to the apoapsis and bring it back down to keep it in slightly lower orbit. It's kind of okay because I got plenty of fuel. And then I'm going to time warp up to the apoapsis where I set my maneuver node, and I'm going to circularize it. And now I'm going to be setting up another maneuver node, but this time I'm going out to Minmus, and I'm going to try to get this as close as I can. I think it ends up somewhere around 60 or 80 kilometers, something like that. Not too particular on where it ends up because I'm going to make corrections once I get out there, as you'll see in a minute. Even at 4 times time acceleration, this is still a pretty slow and tedious process. Extend the solar panels, just make sure I don't lose any power. And make a little correction. And make a little bit more. And got my encounter back. Time warp out there to Minmus. And now I realize that it is extremely far away from the target. So what I need to do is burn either normal or anti-normal. I don't remember exactly which one is which. And then I'm going to set it up so that it goes up over the pole. Then I'm going to change the periapsis up to about 25. Just about. And then I'm going to set up a maneuver node to circularize once I get in there. Just fiddle with it for a second and get it as circular as possible. And then time warp in and make the burn. But I also realize that I still have not ditched that fat stage yet. So I'm going to ram this fat bitch into the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the periapsis onto a suborbital trajectory, and I'm going to hopefully not hit this one, and then I'm going to circularize it again. And start the scanning process. Pointing it towards the sun so I get energy. And it's going to start scanning for Kethane. And now while it's doing that, I'm going to switch back to the other vehicle. And watch this crash into the surface. One funny thing about this crash is the engine survives and flies halfway across the planet, or moon. Sorry, moon. Anyways, that's going to be it for me this time. I'm Mykill Metal. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.